Good evening. As the Public Information Officer for the Colonial School District, it is my honor to invite you to enjoy our annual Teacher of the Year program. Normally, this program is an invitation-only banquet held for our honorees and their guests. But as you know, there is nothing normal about this school year. So the good news is, tonight you get to experience a moment to honor the best of the best. Teachers nominated by their peers and the community for their outstanding work in the classroom. Tonight, we will honor the Teachers of the Year from each school. But before that presentation, our newest member of the Board of Education, Chris PQ, has a few remarks. Chris?
Good evening, all. As a member of the Colonial Board of Education, and as a father and business owner in this district, I am proud not only to represent you, but to also be a part of this very special program. Nicholas Ferroni, a nationally recognized educator and speaker, once wrote, "Educators are the only people who lose sleep over other people's children." That couldn't be more true this year, as we are in the midst of a global pandemic that has shaken the core of traditional classroom instruction. Still, I am proud to say our teachers in this district have risen to that challenge of reaching and teaching children in a virtual world that they never ever imagined would become the new normal. Our Teachers of the Year are no doubt leading the way in our new virtual world. Teachers this year, more than ever before, are being put to the test. Just as parents like myself are having to balance our children learning from home while juggling our own careers. I've always realized it takes a special person to be a teacher. But now I think everyone is more aware of that and more appreciative of the hard work teachers do. That's why I'm so honored to help recognize our Teachers of the Year for the 2020-2021 school year. Congratulations to each Teacher of the Year. But as for our District Teacher of the Year, the 2020-2021 District Teacher of the Year is Kyrie Bay, a health teacher and mindfulness trainer at McCullough Middle School. Mr. Bay has been teaching in Colonial for 8 years. Congratulations, Mr. Bay.
Hello, fellow Colonials. First off, let me say thank you. I am humbled and honored to have the opportunity to represent Colonial School District and all the great things that we have going on. As I've traveled around over the summer during this pandemic, a lot of it's been virtual, some of it has been face-to-face. I've had an opportunity to be with a lot of other teachers from a lot of other districts, a lot of other community members from different areas throughout Delaware. And I would have to say, Colonial School District, we are definitely ahead of the curve. We may not be perfect, but we are definitely the guiding light right now when it comes to feeding our children during this pandemic, getting them their electronics, being there, being that positive agent of change. And this doesn't just go for the teachers, because believe me, the teachers do so much. We have all types of support staff, from parents to the custodians, to the lunch ladies, bus drivers, and secretaries. And let me not leave out the most important part of our community, and that is the community. Because what is a school? What is a district without the community? As the Colonial Nation, we will come together through the power of we, like we have done for so long. With a backing of our district heads, administration within buildings, coaches, teachers, and all staff, we are committed to being the positive serve and return agents for your children, and hope in the near future we will be back together again in the hallways serving the students, staff, and community. Colonial Nation, we got this.
And now it is time to recognize our Building Teachers of the Year, beginning with our elementary schools. From Carrie Downey, Elizabeth Holt. Elizabeth Holt has been a teacher for 19 years and has been at Carrie Downey for 8 years.
So I really believe in teaching the whole child. I'm really big into social emotions and being aware of a child's needs, their background. It's not always academics we teach everything. You often hear that teachers are nurses, psychologists, moms. We do everything. If you can develop a rapport or a relationship with a child, then that child is willing to learn from you.
From Castle Hills, Kim Barbado. Miss Barbado has been teaching the scholars at Castle Hills for 20 years.
I absolutely love when that student literally has that light bulb go off above their head and they finally get something. And I feel like in Colonial, we really have a lot of support in order to make that happen. We wanted to make sure we sent off kids to middle school that were ready. And there were those few students that just really needed some intensive reading and math help. And I've seen students grow 3-4 years in their reading level because of the intensity of this program. And I feel like Colonial really pays attention to that and really looks at what do our kids need.
From Pleasantville, Ryan Warman has been a teacher for 18 years and has been at Pleasantville for 17 years.
My philosophy of education is based on relationships. I feel that you need to have a strong relationship with your students before you can ask them to take any kind of risk, whether it's academic, social, emotional, and education is based on those relationships. Kids are going to want to perform for you and do things in the classroom that might seem hard if they trust you and know you're behind them 100%.
From Eisenberg, Virginia Jenny Gatz has been teaching for 7 years.
Part of my educational philosophy is that all kids have the ability to be successful. I say successful because not necessarily getting good grades and understanding what is educationally coming out of my mouth in class, whether it be Zoom or in school. I think a lot of our kids have faced as much adversity in their 10 years than I have in my entire life. I think that when kids enter my classroom, they need to feel valuable and that they are worth teaching, that they are worth learning. My goal is to make sure that every kid feels like they are capable of being their best self.
From Southern, Crystal Rembert Wallace has been teaching for 11 years.
I believe that all children can learn. I think the biggest difference between education, especially now, is that students aren't as excited to learn or they feel as if it's a job. So I feel as if it's my job and my duty as an educator to ignite that passion again and that excitement for learning, but also make them feel as if they are supported and that they are represented in the school. I feel like it's always nice to see kids who see a representation of themselves in the classroom and in their career, showing leadership in many different ways.
From Wilmington Manor, Jessica Hitchens. Miss Hitchens has been a teacher for 8 years with 1 year at Wilmington Manor.
In terms of my teaching philosophy, I've always believed that I have taught because I believe that what we do as educators matter. We have an opportunity to make our world a better place each and every day we step into our classrooms or our buildings. We educate because we want to make a difference in the lives of our students that we have had the privilege and the honor of teaching both in the past, present, and future. We also teach because we want to allow our students to understand that they can achieve anything at their highest potential, no matter the circumstance.
From Wilbur, Courtney Hopkins has been teaching for 13 years for the Wildcats at Wilbur.
My philosophy of education is that relationships are the foundation of learning. Students and teachers need to develop and maintain positive relationships throughout their educational career. If that happens, then you will see great things happen. I feel that students will thrive the most, teachers will thrive the most, the classroom becomes a better culture. And it's really nice to have that relationship as time goes on, because you can always check back with your students to see their accomplishments and their successes. And plus, it's always nice to have that go-to person as you get older, to know that somebody really values and cares about you as a person.
And from Newcastle, Mary Kay DeCampley has been teaching for 19 years. This is her 8th year at Newcastle.
I believe that all students can learn. And in order to do that, you need to have build a positive, strong relationship with your students. Students need to know that you care for them and that you are there for them. And I believe that that's a successful way to make sure that all students can learn.
From George Reed, Brianne Davis has been teaching for 17 years at George Reed.
I found a quote a long time ago that kind of explains how I feel about education, and it's that students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so my philosophy has always been to put the child first and to build a relationship and a foundation with them and then build from there. I think having a strong relationship with the students kind of lets everything else fall into place. And it has allowed me to develop lessons that, are good for them and meet their needs. And so the students are just my constant inspiration in what I do. And I think my only hope is that I inspire them as much as they've inspired me over the years.
From Gunning Bedford, Erin Motley. Erin Motley has been teaching for 21 years with 20 at Gunning Bedford.
My philosophy of teaching in middle school is that I recognize that middle school is a time for exploration, investigation, experimentation, and a time for making lasting friendships. I get excited because I can harness all that energy and bring it to my classroom to make every student become immersed in a feeling that he or she can make a difference. In my classroom, every student has a scientist inside them, and I work really hard to bring that scientist out of them. In my classroom, every student is valued. Every student has a voice. In my classroom, every student is welcomed. Every student is heard and listened to. Students can change the world. Students make our future a better place. And the older that they get, the more I want students to feel hope and excitement for the world they grow up in. Students are our future. Students are scientists and change makers. Middle school is a very important time for them to see that in themselves. And I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to be part of their academic growth, and I treat it as a responsibility and a privilege.
And again from McCullough, Kyrie Bay, our District Teacher of the Year.
Meeting the child where they are at. A lot of our students come to school with an invisible backpack, and sometimes that backpack is full of trauma. And before I really push into academics and rigor, I try to create the relationship. A lot of kids are not, they come to school in a fight or flight mode. And when you're in a fight or flight mode, you are not thinking and using your cognitive area of your brain.
From William Penn, Christina Marsett has been teaching for 6 years.
One of the things that I think is most important in education is being able to build relationships with our students so that they know when they come to school there's somebody that cares about them, there's somebody that is there to support them and help them succeed in whatever ways we can or that the students need. And when they're able to know that they have that support in the classroom, then they are way more successful students.
And from Wallen, Kasia Thomas has been teaching for 5 years at Wallen.
That all students are capable of learning, specifically math. I believe they're able to reach their learning goals with the proper interventions and supports in place. So for me, I encourage my students to explore and discover with math so that they are developing and understanding and making connections rather than just memorizing steps. I don't want math to seem mysterious or magical. I want them to really understand what is being taught and make those connections and know that they have the capabilities of understanding those math concepts that are being taught.
From Leach, Michelle Lonergan has been a teacher for 5 years, 3 of which have been at Leach.
My goal is for all of my students to gain independence, whether that's through their communication skills, their access skills, or their mobility. I just think about when they graduate from Leach, what do I really want my students to know, what's really important to them, and I try and build on those foundational skills so that they continue to grow and improve. So when they do leave Leach, they're able to effectively communicate if they want more, if they're finished, their wants and their needs. They're able to access and participate in their daily activities and just be a part of their community and create and build meaningful relationships with people around them.
And finally, from the Colonial Early Education Program, better known as SEEP, we have Ashley Bryson, who has been teaching for 6 years.
Connection before content. I believe as educators, we truly can make such an impact on the child's life. And I feel that it's really important that we take that time to individually get to know those students by meeting them exactly where they are I really focus on individualizing supports, adapting materials, never giving up, being really silly with the children with my different voices, and always reflecting on my own teaching practices to make sure I'm doing the best I can be, or being the best I can be for the children. And then of course, committing each and every day to focusing on seeing the best in students as well as my colleagues.
Congratulations to all of the Teachers of the Year, and thank you for all you do for the students in the Colonial School District. To close out tonight's program, we will now have remarks from our superintendent, Dr. Jeffrey Menzer.
Wow, what a lineup. Congratulations to all of you. We're proud of you and excited to see that you're representing the power of we in stellar fashion. You know, I've been attending Teachers of the Year events in Colonial for 18 years. Oddly enough, I've never been asked to speak, nor was I ever recognized. That's besides the point. As I sat and listened to the events today and in the past, I often thought of a quote that I've heard and I've always wondered about. I believe it came from a George Bernard Shaw play. The quote was, "Those that can do, those that can't teach." And I have to say, I don't think the person who said that quote has ever been to a Teacher of the Year event. They probably never even set foot in a school, because that is the farthest thing from the truth. Teachers can and do on a regular basis. And tonight, we've had a great opportunity to honor and recognize those in Colonial who can and do beyond the call of duty. So thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you for joining us.